What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I know it's been a very long time since we posted anything. That's just due to our fault, not having the motivation or really content to create and make something that's entertaining for you guys to watch and something that we enjoy to do. A lot's kind of changed in the last 10-12 months or so. No longer have the GTO, and my buddy Martin doesn't have the Jetta anymore. We've all got different vehicles at this point. But today I figured I'd make a quick video for you guys, kind of a review and a little bit of a how-to for a 2014 Ford Explorer Sport. So for those who are not familiar, it's a Ford Explorer. But the Sport Edition has a 3.5 Ecoboost, and if anyone knows about the 3.5 Ecoboosts, they're pretty reliable and, you know, somewhat deceiving. What I'll be reviewing today is kind of what I've done to this as far as making a daily driver kind of a fun daily driver. I bought this because it was compact, somewhat sporty, and also pulled my boat. So I no longer have the GTO. Made a video about a year ago or so on the GTO that I had. That's been sold. My buddy Martin, who kind of jumps in the videos occasionally too, we did a video on his supercharged Jetta VR6. He no longer has that either. He has another vehicle that's pretty fun. We might make some more videos here in the future. I figured today, you know, I've dug out some of the camera equipment and figured I'd make a video for you guys that hopefully is somewhat entertaining and maybe a little helpful for those who have Ecoboost platform, as far as if you have a show or Explorer Sport or Ford Flex with the Ecoboost, the tune and the parts that I put into this will virtually work in that platform as well, and it's surprising what kind of gains you get out of it. Stay tuned throughout the video. I'll try not to make it too long. I ramble a lot, I'm sorry about that, but I'll have some clips of this thing going up against a couple different vehicles and a Dragy run to show you a quarter mile time, and like a little exhaust clip too. What is up, guys? Welcome back to Mint TV. I figured today, you know what, why not show something that maybe is relevant to somebody out there who has an Ecoboost. I picked up this 2014 Ford Explorer Sport. Bought this as a daily driver just to pull the boat because that's been the new toy. There is no more GTO on the channel, so I apologize for that. Today I'm going to be reviewing Gearhead tuning, my personal experience with them, and the outcome that's been from their tune. They have what no other real tuner offers on the market, and it's the Auto Octane tune. So for those who are familiar with tuning vehicles, my previous vehicles I've had, they're specific to like a 91 or an E85 tune, and that is the only feel you're supposed to run unless you change the tune. In this case, the Auto Octane tune provided through Gearhead Tuning is self-adjusting. Super convenient feature for somebody who wants to spruce up their daily driver in the Ecoboost platform. This will work for the Ford Show, the Ford Flex, Explorer that have the 3.5 Ecoboost. So what this package includes, it's like a power pack that Gearhead provides, and a lot of other tuners have these power packs or whatever you want to call them. This guy and the process of putting this power pack into your power plant. So first of all, Gearhead Tuning has a variety of different tuners. Like this is the new BDX. It's through SCT, but they have the X4, they have the Livewire, I believe. I bought their package deal, which is the tuner, plugs, map sensor, thermostat. And you can opt to leave the thermostat out on the package, just save a little money if you want. I opted to pick the thermostat up because one thing that's prominent on the transverse mounted Ecoboost, there's a lot of heat in here, and the 10-degree cooler thermostat over stock does help keep temps down a little bit. So anyways, start with the hardest part, in my opinion, the thermostat. Thermostat is a little tricky because right between these two, that piece right there is a thermostat housing. Take this off, loosen these two hose clamps, and you can either just remove this or you can remove your whole air box too, which is two tabs here, one there, one there. Unplug your intake air temperature sensor. You can remove this whole thing, gives you enough room to get in there. I used a 1/4-inch socket and an 8mm, or 1/4-inch ratchet, sorry, with extension, 8mm socket. There's 2 bolts on the thermostat. Bust those loose. Do it when the engine's cold because hot coolant hurts. You're going to make a mess, so have like a container on the ground to catch the coolant. Also, you're going to need more coolant to fill up the reservoir when you're done. Pull the housing off. The thermostat sits in the side of the intake manifold. So it sits in there like this. So when you pull that cover off, it'll sit like that with the O-ring around it. Sometimes in cases of doing previous thermostats, they get jammed in there or they're just kind of seized up with the O-ring. So you take a small pick and you work around the outer edge of the thermostat, and inside the housing this sits in, and it kind of busts that O-ring loose, and then this will come right out. More coolant tends to come out once you remove this. So it does make quite a mess, but you put your new thermostat back in the same orientation that you pulled your old one out, and put your housing back on, tighten your 2 bolts down. Just snug is good. In my case, that's what I did. And that process is done. Once we finish the map sensor and the plugs, you'll top off the coolant. And because the reservoir is usually the highest spot on the engine, as far as bleeding the coolant and any air that might have gotten in, which will get in, it's easy to bleed the system. You just take the cap off. Once you get the tune installed, you'll start it up, add coolant, leave the cap off, and once it gets up to operating temp and that thermostat opens, the air will rise to the highest surface, and after a while you'll notice the coolant might drop a little bit. You'll top it off, and as soon as you don't see any bubbles or anything coming through the coolant, you're good to go. And just monitor the temp gauge and make sure that it's not overheating or anything. Relatively easy process, shouldn't have any issues if you do it that way. Next step, second most difficult, and when I say difficult, I don't mean it's like impossible. It's definitely doable. I'm not super mechanically inclined by any means. This platform was really new to me, so a lot of research. Google's your friend. You just research if something isn't making sense, or just post a comment. I'll try to help you too. Plugs are next. Like I said, you get a step colder plugs that are gapped at 28 thousandths. Check your gap before you put the new plugs in. They're pre-gapped through Gearhead. However, in shipping, anything happens. Packages aren't always handled the nicest, so the gap can be crushed even more. So a spark plug gap tool, for example, let's dig through the toolbox here. I have these feeler gauges. They're different thicknesses, and they say what the thickness is. I use that, but you can go to like your local parts store, and usually for $1 or $2 they have the little like keychain spark plug gap checkers, and you can use those. They're accurate enough for the most part. Just to confirm, they're at 28 thousandths, so it'd be 0.028. If you get this kit and you notice one's tighter, make sure you adjust that back, and there's different ways. Sometimes the tools have a little spot on them where you can get the strap and bend it up a little bit to create a bigger gap, or tighten it by tapping on it or something to decrease the gap. But it's crucial to have it pretty close to that. To do the plugs, it is a coil on plug setup. There's 6 spark plugs up, an 8mm bolt holding each coil in. That's relatively simple to remove. You have a connector with a little red locking tab that you push the red tab down, and then you just pinch it and pull it off, kind of like you would do for your map sensor, which this is the map sensor. You pull your coils out, use kind of a variety of extensions and a spark plug socket. Make sure it's a spark plug socket because it makes pulling the spark plug out a lot easier than using a traditional socket. They don't stay in the socket, it's like a magnetic thing. Front 3 are easy. The back 3 get a little tricky. I take this nut off on this charge pipe here, so this will allow you to kind of move it. There's boots on each end, so like it allows it to flex up and down because you have a coil that's right underneath here. So the same process, disconnect the electrical connector, take your 8mm bolt out of the 3 that are back here, pull the coil out. This one requires you to lift this up a little bit usually, drop a socket and your extension in there, put your ratchet on, bust the spark plug loose. I take the ratchet off, and then I just use my fingers and spin the extension and pull the plug out. And then same process on the other 2. It's not too complicated, just a little bit of time and patience, and you'll get the job done no problem. Once you get your plugs in, coils back on, your bolts back in to hold them, your connectors back on, that part's done. Next part, the easiest part, is your map sensor. So this is the 3-bar map sensor that's installed. It's a T20 Torx bit, I think, that you need on this. Just one in here, there's not another, there's no hole drilled for that, it's just one. Disconnect the electrical connector, loosen that, twist it and pull up because the O-ring in there gets a little stuck. Put the new one in, snug that down. Careful, this is aluminum, you don't need to go Hulk strength on it, so just snug is good. Same with the, like I said, on the thermostat housing, snug is good. Reconnect the connector, you're done. Next step is going to be the tune. Uploading the tune is relatively simple. One thing I will note is that when you order this online, you'll get an email confirming you made a purchase, and it'll have a link to a spec sheet. That spec sheet you fill out. Whether or not you have stuff done to your Explorer or your Ecoboost in general, and usually within a day's time, he'll send you the tune, email tune. But once you get the tune installed on your device, you'll have it on here, then you can install it on the vehicle. One thing I recommend is when you're in the process of installing the tune, before you do it, if you happen to have a battery charger, hook it up. Because I initially ran into a problem where maybe my battery is not up to par anymore, but I've never had it not start. I had the tune fail halfway through it, just locked up. Gave me an error code. I googled the error code, said low voltage. Luckily, there's kind of like fail safes in it, just return to stock, everything was normal. I just connected a battery charger to it, and then the tune installed flawlessly. Once you get the tune on, that's pretty much it. You're good to go. Drive it around, make sure there's no like engine lights, that again, your coolant, you're bleeding your coolant immediately after you get the tune on. So make sure your coolant's good to go. And then from there on out, enjoy the tune. Big disclaimer here. When you're running a tune, you're altering the factory settings, regardless who you're going through. Some tuners are a little more extreme, some are a little more conservative, whatever it may be. You're still pushing limits of stock internals, stock driveline. If something breaks, don't be like, what the hell, you know, like, oh, I thought this was a safe tune. It is a safe tune, but depending on how you drive your vehicle and the maintenance you do, you might see failure. I know on the Explorer platform and the transverse mounted 3.5s, I've done my transmission flushes, the PTU gear oil change, and frequent oil changes on the engine. Just a good preventative maintenance that isn't very costly and can prolong the life of your vehicle regardless if it's stock or modified in any way. And the nice thing about Gearhead is that, like I said, the Auto Octane tune, if I'm on a road trip somewhere and I can only get 87, I don't have to worry about switching the tune. I mean, how great is that? And honestly, when I'm pulling my boat, this tune works great. I mean, the stock calibration had plenty of power for pulling. You know, these are rated for 5,000 pounds. My boat weighing just under 3,000. This thing just pulls it like it's not there. It's pretty surprising. So thanks for watching. Enjoy the next few clips. If you like the video, you know, give us a thumbs up. If you have questions, if you want to bash us, that's fine. I love the comments that are always talking about how I wish there was more of this or that. I get it. Like, we're filming on a whim here and we're not professionals. We're just kind of doing it as we do. And when I say we, I mean Martin's usually in the videos too, but today is just kind of a solo you and me video. So hope you enjoy. Thanks for watching. See you later.